So, um, um, I'm going to start by welcoming all of you and actually just to let you know, Chantal had a double booking this morning, so she won't be able to attend the meeting. And but she sends her regrets, and Mary could not make the meeting either. So Matt is our vice chair, and he'll be running the show today. So, but I wanted to kick us off with um, our favorite welcoming script. I do not have to read word for word anymore. So that, but I want to point out that um, this meeting is being audio and video recorded. And I want to make sure that we are aware of the members who are here. So I'm going to do a quick roll call of members. Matt Peel,
Here.
Liz Holland, Peter Morrison,
Here.
Garrison Beal,
Here.
Sarah Boyes,
Here.
and our guest, Gary Roberts,
Here.
and myself, David Sharp. Votes will be taken by roll call, and just in general, make sure, remember, you are being recorded, and so just take take steps to be, in the best frame of mind. I also have included, this is from the town. This is something that is new, and it's called the agenda protocol, and I'm not going to read it word for word, but hopefully you all have reviewed it. At this stage of the meeting, we are going to include public comment from here on out, so that anybody who is here that is not a member of the committee or a guest can, or somebody who wants to speak in general, this is their time to speak. And so really, that's all I have at this point. I'm just wondering if anybody had any questions about the agenda protocol.
Yeah, David, just one quick, I was just wondering if, can we put it like a little blurb or anything like on our Instagram or something, just so the public knows that we are offering public comment for these meetings? If somebody did have a visitor services concern or something they wanted to bring to our attention, they could hop
Yeah,
on.
I could check with Chantal and see what if we can. Yeah, I think that somewhere around the world we'll pass that along and make sure that people are aware of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a public meeting in general, and people are can find us online and on the town website, and they can dial in on the Zoom. So yeah, we'll go forward with that. So anyway, I'm leaving it at that for now. And Matt, if you want to go forward with our agenda.
Yeah, then we'll start with the approval of March 12th minutes. Everybody got a chance to look them over? Any comments, concerns regarding the minutes? Well, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved by Peter.
Peter, thank you. Second.
Second.
Second by Liz, and then we did roll call, correct, David?
Yes.
All right, and then approved by roll call, Liz Holland,
Here.
Peter Morrison,
Here.
Garrison Beal,
Here.
and Sarah Boyce.
Aye.
All right, so that's the minutes have been approved for March 12th. And then a conversation with Gary Roberts. So welcome, Gary. Thank you for joining us today. It's been exciting to see what's going on over there. I've seen some of the new buses look great, and then the announcement of the program for the free wave this summer is exciting. Other than that, I think we're all excited to hear what you have to say and updates from there. So
all right,
yeah, take it away.
all right, thanks for having me. I just wanted to let you know that I as soon as I'm done, I have to hop off because I have to get to Worcester for a state meeting. So we're preparing for the season right now. There are going to be some changes over at the Greenhound, so everyone's aware of it. That this year we are going to try, and hopefully we have it all planned out properly, that the buses will no longer park on Washington Street. There's normally 3 buses that park along Force 5 in that area. We're going to utilize the entire parking area where the buses stage. So instead of it being just the 3 buses that park there, we're going to double up the spaces, but we're going to have every vehicle in the parking area instead of passengers having to cross the road to get to the buses. It just, in my opinion, I didn't feel that it was a very safe thing, that what's been done in the past, having passengers have to cross the street. They couldn't see the destination signs on the buses, and having them all on the property is just safer for everyone. And we've come up with a plan on how we're going to stage the vehicles in there. And, we're pretty confident that it's going to work well for everyone. The Greenhound is set to open. We're going to have our first staff starting there tomorrow. In the beginning, we're just going to have someone there for 5 hours a day. As the season goes on, we're going to have more help come in to have people there for longer durations of our hours as the season progresses. Some changes with the routes that we're going to be imposing this summer. The electric buses that we're adding, we have 5 new electric buses that have been delivered. The wraps were completed this past week with the new design that are on the vehicles. I think the 3 of them are getting, 3 or 4 are getting their inspection stickers done today. We still have to do some DPU inspections that have to be done, but they're going to be ready for when the service starts picking up. We're going to do the Mid-Island and the Maya Comet. We're going to increase frequencies on those routes due to the size of the vehicles that we're running. The capacity is about 4 or 5 less seats per vehicle. So to make up for that, we're going to have the buses run more frequently. So if the bus is filled, there's going to be another one coming along. And I think we're doing one at 10 minutes and the other one every 15 minutes. They're going to be leaving from there. So we're going to, due to our charging infrastructure, we did buy 5 level 2 chargers for these buses for the maintenance facility. Remain Nantucket granted us a level 3 high-speed charger, and the state funded a second level 3 charger. The plans were to have those installed at the Greenhound for this season, but because of the lead time for equipment needed, the infrastructure work that we have to do with National Grid, we're going to hold off on doing the charging at the Greenhound probably until later in the year after the season. So we're going full speed ahead at the garage to get the equipment installed. So the drawback to doing that is the vehicles, the range of the vehicles. We're going to have to really work on our scheduling for the electric buses on how long that they can run before they have to be swapped out and charged. So because of the Mid-Island and the Maya Comet deal with the most narrow roads that are closest to houses, and where we get a lot of complaints about the noise and the exhaust from the buses, those 2 routes of the routes that I've decided that we're going to run the electric buses on in conjunction with the smaller gas powered cutaways that we've been running all winter. So that should alleviate any noise complaints that we have on the very tight roads that those buses run on. So we plan on running 1 or 2 of the electric buses for Daffodil Weekend to provide a shuttle out to Sconset. So the public, I had one last year that I ran when we were demoing the electric bus to test it out. But now that we have, all the logos on the vehicles, we're going to get those out there so that people can see them, have the opportunity to ride on them, to see what they're like. And I think last year I drove one. I'm probably going to drive one again this year, and we'll just add a second one just to have out there for people to ride. Last year we went out to Sconset, but we also did a couple of the other routes just to pick some people up and let them see what the vehicle's like and, to enjoy it and ask any questions that they might have on it. The other big thing that we started last week was the free fare program. That was a grant that we received from MassDOT. That's going to run throughout the season until September 30th. From the time that we started on Monday, I believe it was Monday was the first when we started. In the first week, we've seen increased ridership on each route. We have electronic tablets that are in the vehicles for the drivers to track the ridership right now. The fare boxes are still in the vehicles, but we have a tracking system that can track as the passengers come on and off. So we're using that right now to track the ridership for the first couple weeks, and then determine if we're going to use the fare box to track ridership or if we're going to continue with the tablets. But the very first day we saw an increase of around 140 rides compared to the previous year. The next day was up again, and the third day was up again. So we've seen increases every single day, and I think this summer we're going to see large increases in ridership. And I think it's going to be a benefit to the island for to help with the traffic. Hopefully, more people will ride the bus. There's no one's going to have to worry about exact change and figuring out the fare boxes. They can just hop on the bus and get off where they need to. So I think it's going to be a big benefit, and we're excited that it started. And we've started an aggressive ad campaign. We have a radio ad. We've had with the current Daybreak. I think it's going to be in the Inquirer. We have notices up at the Greenhound and in the vehicles. So I think I don't think we've dropped anything off to the visitor center. So we'll get some of our postings up over there. So when the tourists start coming in, they're fully aware of the free fare. So we're probably also going to look at maybe putting someone down at the boats when boats come in to pass out pamphlets so people know that the buses are free, to encourage them to try the bus system. And I hope that more people are going to ride the buses just because of that it's free. But I think with the electric buses on there as well, that some people may be interested in saying that they rode on an electric bus. So we're hoping that's going to bring in some more ridership as well. The Greenhound, there's some changes going on at the Greenhound that the town is more involved in than I am on my end on how Island Tours is operating over there. I think that's something I would direct to the town to find out exactly how that's working. There are some slight changes, but it will not affect the operation of the NRTA buses. So I have a meeting today out in Worcester that we're going to look at some more. There's a possibility of another funding initiative for fare-free funds that I'm going to explore while I'm there. This winter has been a busy winter for us. We've been focused on workforce housing to properly staff NRTA, and we've made big leaps in what we've had for housing. I think we're up to 4 properties now that we're leasing, so we have enough drivers. We have pulled in some local residents that are driving for us now, which is a benefit than having to bring everyone in from off island. The new vehicles do not require a CDL license, so that's made it a lot easier for us to attract some drivers. And I think this year we're better staffed than we have been in most years as we get started. The other difference, large difference that the public is going to see is the Island Ride Transportation has historically been dispatched out of the NRTA offices. This is going to be transferring over to the bus operator to do the dispatching, and we're doing that with a new software that we've been testing for the last month, and it's going to be rolled out as our primary dispatch software that we're going to use. And in the coming weeks, the riders that have their trips booked will now have the ability for the system to call them to say when the vehicle will be arriving to pick them up. It's always been a little bit of a, everyone wants to call to say, well, what time's it going to be here? Is it going to be 4 minutes or 5 minutes? And now, like Uber Eats does, you'll be notified that the vehicle's on its way and at what time it'll be at the house. So we're just waiting for that final part of the test on that to ensure that everything's working properly. And that should be starting shortly. So we're going to have a new phone number that we're starting the ad campaign for that. The phone number will change for booking the rides. We'll also get that over to visitor services that can be handed out to the riders. But we deal with a lot of repeat riders, and most of the people will have all the information handed to them, and they'll be notified when they call into the office as well. So there'll be a little bit of a transition, I'm sure, as that starts, that the phone calls will go to the wrong place. But we still will have access to the software at our offices, and we'll be able to handle anything as we roll this out. But it should be a pretty seamless transition, and it's going to be a lot better for the rider, because I think we're going to be able to track the vehicles a lot better, and we're going to be able to book the trips a little bit tighter and handle all the trips that we needed. We have seen an increase in the island ride transportation in the past 2 months as well, and we expect that to continue as the season progresses. Do you have any questions about our service?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. It's exciting. It's good to hear that you guys are staffed up, because I think with the free ride program, it could really take off this summer. One question I did have is, do all the new buses have bike stands on them, or bike places to put the bikes on the buses?
Yeah, every vehicle has the ability to carry 2 bikes. The new electric buses also have them. They look slightly different. They're the same manufacturer, but our equipment hasn't been updated in so long that there's probably like 2 incarnations of upgrades since we purchased new vehicles. So they still operate the same. They just look slightly different, but there'll be nothing for the passenger to worry about doing it. So they're going to have the electric vehicles. The previous vehicles that we ran on the routes, the internationals on those routes, had like 16 to 18 seats in them. The electric vehicles have 12 seated positions, but the ability to have 6 standees with the grab straps to hold on to. They're low floor, so there's no steps to get into the vehicle. So the lower portion of the vehicle is where the standee area is. So there's a little bit of a trade-off, but adding the extra, we're going to add the extra route, like from, I think it was 10:30 to 7:30 in that point. We went by historical data to see when the ridership was heaviest on those routes, and that's where we inserted the 3rd vehicle. So if we do get to the point, that the buses are starting to get overloaded, we'll have the extra vehicle to leave with a higher frequency. And along with that, we're just going to watch it and see how it goes. If we have to make more changes, we'll make more changes. But it was the ability to get new vehicles here quickly. Currently, like if we were to order any new vehicle from a bus manufacturer, it's at least, I think they're running at least 15 months to 20 months from the time that an order is placed to receive vehicles. Another bus manufacturer just went out of business, so there's really only 2 to 3 large companies left building buses, so they're backed up. And then the electric buses take longer to get parts, so those are running about 2 years from the time that you place an order. So the buses that we purchased, we were able to get within, I think it was 3 months from the time that I placed the order, that we had them here on island. So it was a decision made to get something here that would work. The size works, and the how quickly we could get them was also a big benefit. And the vineyard has been running them for a while, and they're pretty happy with them. The passengers love them, so we're hoping to have the same success.
Terrific. Peter?
Gary, it sounds really interesting that you're collecting the data in some systematic fashion on ridership. And I wonder if you plan to continue doing so, so that you get the full scope of the story of how the transition from paying a little to paying nothing affected, the sort of the elasticity of demand. Somebody who's working on a master's degree in an economics department is probably going to want to do his master's degree on how the transition worked and what it shows about, when you do this transition. Are you keeping kind of systematic, relatively high quality, consistent data? And do you plan to do so? Is there some automatic way to do it so the full story can be told? Because there's a real story, a really good story here eventually.
Oh, yeah, well, I've had a discussion with MassDOT just last week. We had our program preview, which is you sit down with like 10 people from the state, and they assess what you did in the past year, and you list all your accomplishments and everything that you did and what your goals are going forward. And one of the discussions was the Fare Free project. So they agreed that Nantucket is a interesting case to them. There's 15 RTAs throughout the state, and we have, there was $15 million made available statewide for the Fare Free program. And some of the boards did not want to go Fare Free. They did very limited. You could have gone up to 6 months. Some only did December. They did like the holiday shopping season. Some of the boards just don't feel that it should be free. Thankfully, our board really wants to look at Fare Free. So the state has added, they give you the money for it through a contract, but there is aggressive reporting that has to be done. So I explained to them that we had upgraded our Transloc software over the fall. We're still waiting for everything takes forever now to get anything that you need, but we're still waiting to get everything completely set up. But we have tablets now in every vehicle that shows the route, so the driver can see the route that they're driving with the turns that they need to make. And then it has a button on it where they key on when they add a passenger, and then they key on when the passenger gets off the vehicle. And this gives us the data to see, where is it where are our strengths and where are the weaknesses? What part of our routes do we need to look at to say we're really not putting anybody on at that point? Nobody's really getting off in this area. So we're using that data, and we're able to pull it down. It's sent cellular. Every hour we get the update on the trips that come in. So every day, the following day, we upload all the information, and then we have last year's historical data that we used through our farebox system hourly, and that's how we're matching it up from day to day to see which routes are, where we're seeing the increases on the routes. So right now we're only running 3 routes, so it's very easy to do. As the season progresses and we have 15 vehicles on the road, it's going to be a little bit more work, but I don't feel that it's going to be anything difficult. I mean, we upgraded the software for this specific reason, to have the ability to track the ridership. There are passenger counting systems that you can put in the vehicles that count passengers on and off. And I didn't feel, as we're transitioning with the fleet, that this was the time to do it. So we did upgrade to something that gives us the ability. And the state is interested to see the outcome of this, because they said of all places that have issues with congestion and traffic, this is the perfect place to test it to see how it's going to affect the service.
Yeah, I really think you got a terrific case study here, and it could be that you get a terrific story that can be told about it and the permanence of the effect, and possibly that it will continue to grow beyond anybody's expectations if it becomes perceived as kind of a boutique thing where you'd want to do it mainly for the experience, and then, because you've read about it. Anyhow, that's good news.
Yeah, I look at it when I was able to pick the dates to do it. I put in the request with MassDOT to spread it out our entire summer season. So we are basically running it through 2 fiscal years, because our fiscal year ends June 30th. And that's why I requested to do 3 months in FY '24 and 3 months in '25. That way we get the whole picture. If we did it in the winter, we're really not going to get the picture of what we want to see, with the heavy ridership, to see how did it help during the tourist season to cut down on people using vehicles. The struggle will be if funding, I think everyone's seen the stories coming out of the state that the fiscal picture isn't that great. Looking ahead, we've already been warned. I mean, FY '25, we know our funding set, but '26 and forward could be problems because the state is really seeing shortfalls in their tax revenue. And then with the migrant housing issues that are going on, that the funds may not be there. So the fear is when the time comes to go back to say we have to start charging, it's going to be a difficult sell. So we really need to have our data all lined up to show what it did here for requests in the future, to try to keep the program going as long as we possibly can.
Sounds good.
Liz?
Gary, thanks for coming because this is really important information for all of us. I'm the manager down at the High Line, and I especially feel that all of this, what you're saying, if you can, give us some of it that we can actually hand out to people, because people are, believe it or not, coming over now as to check out the island and stuff, and they want to know how to get around. So it would be really awesome if you could include us down at the High Line as soon as you can, because people are coming now. So, and if the weather continues like this, it'll be even more before Daffodil Weekend. So thanks for coming.
Yes, I've noticed. I take the boat a lot, and I've noticed the increase in people already. The other thing I just wanted to run by everyone that we're working on right now, which does involve the High Line, kind of. I'm working on, and this all comes down to the housing and staffing. But I've had some discussions with the state about some service that we're looking to expand upon, and we may be looking at the returning the worker ferry shuttle that ran. It's been years since it did run, to try to alleviate, to help with the parking situation. I think everyone knows if you try to go to the Stop and Shop at night, there's no parking spots there. And we're trying to get the shuttle back from the fairgrounds lot to the boats, for the workers to get them when they come in, especially on the 7:10, when it comes in at 7:10, and then the 4:35. The heavy worker loads that are going off, we're trying to get that service up and planned out to get that back up and running, to try to help with the when all the workers come in, it gets a little congested, and try to get some of the work trucks that are parking in town. It should help with that if we have a dedicated shuttle that gets them out to where they need to be.
Yes, actually, we ran it for about 4 years, and I won't mince words in saying that it was incredibly difficult to staff, as well as the other things that NIT was doing. But you'd have to speak with the Scudders about that, and Rick. So if you were thinking that maybe Highline would contribute to that.
No, it'll be, and RTA will fund the whole thing, and it's just a service that I have an innovation grant that's in right now that would help with the funding to operate the service. We should be finding out in the next week or so where those are. And then the other future service that we're working on, when we put in the new software for the Island Ride, we added a micro transit on demand service software option to that. There's some work that still has to be done to map out the island, to geofence the areas, but it'll be an on-demand service that primarily would be during the off season to cover the routes that we don't operate year round, to provide service to people that may be in the outlying areas that need, to get picked up. They would book their ride and then it would go directly to the van, and the van would pick the person up, and but not on a dedicated fixed route. It would just be as needed service.
That sounds great.
Terrific. Yeah, Gary, I know last year, I think I brought this up when you joined us last year. But have you guys looked at adjusting some earlier timetables as well? Because I know that's some of the feedback I've received in the past is, that 6:30, 7 o'clock-ish time. Because I don't think you guys start running till about 7:30 or so. You get a lot of people, especially in the Old South kind of corridor, Nobody Farm area, trying to get either downtown or something like that. That just, it's not early enough service. Have you guys looked at that at all?
We haven't looked at increasing service in the morning hours. We had it was a busy off season, more internal stuff. We had done some contract changes with the operator. There was a lot of work that's been done behind the scenes. The first route started at 7 in the morning. We're looking, as the season goes on, of maybe extending some of the hours, not the time wise, but like the airport, when the end date is for the season, when we stop going to the airport. We found last year that people are coming in via the airport, with wedding season later on. We get a lot of calls about, how come the bus doesn't run to the airport anymore? And it's just that it ends earlier than maybe it should. And we're looking, it comes down to staffing. A lot of our seasonal staff that comes in, they start leaving. If they're college people, they start leaving, and it's difficult to staff everything that we need. So that could also fall under if we had the on-demand service up and running. If there are people that come in, they can book it through there. But we're going to see as we get going where we get with staff. We still have some time to hire some more staff. The island is very difficult. The whole housing thing just affects about every business on the island, and we're feeling the crunch on bringing people in, because it's not like they have an option. We don't have an option to say, well, yeah, you come in, but we can't provide you housing because they're not going to find anything. So it's incumbent on how many beds we can provide for the amount of people that we can bring in to work as well.
Maybe I can ask a question on the housing, if you don't mind, which is, do you track, or are you able to track like visitors taking the wave versus like the year round or the seasonal staffing, and the ones who get the cards from their employers, and about what routes they're on? Are you seeing an increase on like mid-island routes because that's the majority of the housing is there for staff, or is it somewhere else? And has there been have you seen any changes in that?
Well, one thing that's a little, that the fare free affected a little bit, that made it was hard to calculate when the grant was written. When I put in for the grant, it was hard to calculate because you never know. We sell seasonal passes, and then we sell year-round passes, and to try to calculate, a lot of the seasonal passes are bought by employers. Those we can track because of, if they come in, it's discounted if it's for an employee, but the employer has to come in to buy the passes. It's difficult for us to forecast out how many passes we're going to sell, because that's part of the grant, basically, because you're not just counting fare revenue on the bus, it's also your sales. So right now we can say that we know all of our ridership basically right now is year-round, mostly workers that, or other people that use the service to get around. But as far as being able to track the summer use, and if they're from off island and, tourists, it's very difficult to, obviously our numbers go from, 5,000 to 7,000 riders in a month. And then in July, we're up to, 50,000 riders in a month, or 55,000. So we know it's all tourists that are doing it, but to track where they're going, we'll see how we do with the software, how much data we pick up to see.
I guess the thought would be then which route is now seeing like a major increase in traffic, and which routes are seeing a decrease in traffic or little. I think you touched on this earlier about some routes aren't seeing as many pickups and stops anymore. So are we adjusting at all to different routes where people are? Are we getting feedback from the ridership about where they want more stops? Just curious if there's been any reach out to the community about where stops are and if everything's okay.
I think that, you know, when I came on board, you know, we started a process of, you know, building the authority in the direction that I wanted to see it going. And I think I think I've had to look inside to myself to say that I set a 6-month window of being at a certain point where I wanted to be. And I think that stretched out to, you know, that might have taken me a year to get to where I thought I was going to be in 6 months. And I said, February was about a year that I was here. And, you know, the fleet is the biggest problem that we have, that, you know, the fleet is well past replacement life. So I think that there's a lot of things internally that we have to do before we can start really looking at making changes. We're trying to get through the season with the older equipment again, with injecting some new equipment. So I think when we get to the point where I'm comfortable where we're at with equipment, then that's when we're going to move into changes, and, you know, like that.
Thanks. I mean, everything you've said so far seems like absolutely moving in the right direction. Just those couple questions, and then are you going to change the signs then in front of Force 5 to say Gary's parking spot since those won't be buses anymore, or is that
that's going to be open? I believe that's going to be.
Can I apply for one of those?
I think it's open parking now. I believe
okay.
that.
I wasn't sure.
I haven't
signs
seen.
Up.
I haven't seen the final plan, but it's the signs will not be going up for NRTA bus parking only in those areas, unless we run into a problem that our plan completely falls apart. You know, we're hoping that it's always easy to put it in paper, to say this is going to work and we have it all timed out, and then we get some big traffic jam that gets every one of the buses there at the same exact time when they're not supposed to be there, and then we're going to have to look at a different option after that. But
it's easier to keep it than to give it back, to get it back. Yeah. So just be careful.
Well, yeah. We're utilizing one extra row in there, and then
great. It's a good plan. I like it.
The little triangle area, we're going to have an overflow spot there. The charging equipment, when that comes in, you know, it's going to change things up a little bit, but I never realized it would take as long as it's going to take to get just the steps to get through the infrastructure part of it is, you know, we had to bring in an electrical engineer to do work, and it moves a lot slower than one would think.
Well, thanks again for your time today, Gary. Appreciate these questions.
You got to make sure they're keeping those parking brakes on too, right?
Yeah, that was an unfortunate thing that there's new policies going in place. I was coming back Sunday when that happened, and that wasn't a call that I really like to get.
Too soon, Matt. So too soon.
It was dealt with quickly.
It's good. That's the current for us. They're watching everything.
I think they were wishing that I didn't come back on the boat when that happened. So it was dealt with very fast.
All right. Any other questions for Gary? All right. Not seeing any other questions. Well, Gary, thank you very much. Like Garrison said, you know, I think you're doing everything the right way, and you know, you're really turning that department around, and it's really exciting changes. You know, I plan on, you know, myself and the kids hopping on that bus this summer, and, you know, catching at the airport and riding it downtown, going get some ice cream, wandering around downtown. So I'm excited for it. So
well, take a look for the electric bus on Daffodil. You won't be able to miss it. It's got a new design on it, and it'll be pretty easy to spot. Terrific.
Yeah, I mean, we'll ride it out there on Daffodil as well. So I think you guys are gonna see a huge increase in ridership this summer, and I think it's well deserved. So thank you very much. Appreciate you joining us today.
All right. Well, have a great day, and I'm running off to the next one in Worcester now.
Bye.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right. So next, moving on to David, are you doing the director's report as well?
No, it will be just my report. Chantel will catch up next month.
Okay, all right, so we'll go ahead and skip that and move on to last item on our agenda, visitor services coordinators report.
Okay, I included in our packet the stats from March as well as comparing January and February. And as you can tell, we are going higher and higher in terms of visitors. Um, um, Primarily due to the passport option that we have on Monday and Wednesdays now. So we have people coming in starting at 8 o'clock in the morning up till about noon. And usually there's in groups of 2 or 3. And so that is one thing that I wanted to point out is we're now transitioning some of our stat observations to include in overall visitors, because we also track, people asking about Cisco Brewery. I'm adding the passport thing. And then on the phone calls, I'm changing what was lodging inquiry calls. There's very few of those these days to people asking about passports, because people do call us and ask when can I make an appointment and so forth. So that's the new thing there. In terms of mailings, that's still going forward, but I'm also eliminating placements, since that too, like the lodging inquiries, are not as frequent as they used to be. So in the meantime, if you notice, we only had 0 mailings for March. That was because we were waiting for the travel and lodging brochure to arrive. If I could put this here, anyway, it's there. Sorry, it's blurry, but they're here at the office, and I just mailed out 48 of them. And so we are also going to have um, we ordered about 3,500 of these, the same as last year. And so we'll have a bunch at the chamber, and then also include them at, excuse me, Straight Wharf and the airport when they open during the season. In the meantime, I've got staff already returning. And then we will be open over Daffodil weekend. I'm not sure the hours yet, but at least Saturday and Sunday will be open part of the day, if all day Saturday. And then the rest of the staff will be coming back in May and June. So we're getting back to summer, and looking forward to it, and I can't wait. So and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
David, quick question. Are very many people showing up for the passports without photos? Assuming that you guys do photos?
We get, I'd say 15, 20, 25% people are not either forget the photos or have not filled out the applications properly, or have forgot stuff like birth certificates and things like that, because a lot of them are families who are getting first-time passports for the kids. And so that's the key thing is there's it's just some people are not organized, and then they come back later and get everything all set. So it's not too many things, but there are hiccups here and there.
And is there a wait list, or anybody asking to get on a wait list at all?
Well, the thing is that the wait list, it's by appointment only, and it's booking about a week or 2 out right now. So it's just they're just gonna have to wait, because it's the only time that Chantal can do it is Mondays and Wednesdays from a certain, from 8 a.m. to noon. And it's a lot of paperwork to get involved with, and then you have to mail it out and so forth. But so far we've had very few issues with people getting upset about they can't book it, but it's just they're gonna have to be patient, because it's a limited time frame.
Any other questions for David? All right,
All right, well, thank you.
all right, well, terrific, yeah. I think that's it.
I think we'll have our usual May meeting, whatever that second Tuesday is. I don't have the date in front of me, but you'll hear from me soon and we'll have another guest visitor, uh, speaker. So hopefully, so in the meantime, thank you all very much. And Chantal will be back at the next meeting and fill you in with all the stuff that she's got.
Terrific, thank you, David. Motion to adjourn,
So moved by Peter.
second,
Second.
thank you. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay.
All right, unanimous. Thank you, guys. We'll see you guys
Bye-bye.
next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.